Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Hampton, board certified family and obesity medicine doctor with a master's in nutrition and functional medicine. And it's that training in nutrition and functional medicine which brought me to this topic, which is when you're out there trying to figure out what to eat, what do you choose? It's very difficult sometimes when you're a carnivore to live in a world where not many people are carnivores. And that's why I brought Kerry of Homestead How here today. And I was really intrigued. I saw some of the great content he was putting out there as it relates to eating out at restaurants you wouldn't expect to be able to survive. And I want to do a shout out to him because a lot of times I'll drive by a restaurant that I know is not exactly carnivore friendly, particularly those Italian restaurants. And I live in a town where there's nothing but pasta places and Italian restaurants. So, and for some reason, I didn't think to question whether or not they'd be able to serve my needs. And what Kerry was able to do in one of his videos is to share that it's possible. So Kerry, first of all, thank you for putting out a video about that. But more importantly, I want to bring you to my channel to talk about how do you manage traveling, moving around. You've been filming a Healing Humanity documentary, and I'll have a link to that so we can support that journey. But what can a person do, man? They're in the street, they're with their family, or they're making a documentary like you. What can they do to survive out there?
Yeah, it can be tricky. It can definitely be tricky, but it's not as hard as people would think. One of the big things I've learned on my journey, as you mentioned, been traveling all over the world filming the documentary. So I always recommend to people, it's better to eat at home, cook your own food. You have total control. It's cheaper. You don't have to worry about seed oils and seasonings, but a lot of times it's unavoidable, especially when you're going to work or work functions or out with families. So yeah, we recently did a video where I'm like, let's try what has to be the hardest, least carnivore friendly restaurant. And that was Olive Garden. Can we do carnivore and survive there? And it was really interesting, Dr. Hampton. It actually worked out really well. And here's the advice that I give people that I think will help people. Number one, it just comes down to a little bit of planning, and it doesn't have to be extensive. So in the case of Olive Garden, I did some research and looked up, like, is this even possible? And I found a really good video by Laura Spath from a couple years ago, but it wasn't even her video that helped. It was the comments on her videos. Someone that had formerly worked at Olive Garden gave some tips. But the big thing I found, whether it's Olive Garden or elsewhere, is you just got to use your voice and you got to ask questions. Sometimes we're hesitant. We look at the menu and we're like, there's nothing here. But most places offer a la carte options. And most places also offer just different options for people's different dietary needs, mostly on the opposite end, vegetarian, vegan sort of stuff. But if you ask, there's usually options. So asking what you can get a la carte, that is a big one at most restaurants. And that's actually what worked for us at Olive Garden. The crazy thing with Olive Garden is I thought, yeah, maybe we can pull this off and eat a carnivore friendly meal afterwards, but it's going to be incredibly expensive, or they're going to have some sauce or something on it with sugar in it, or who knows. It's going to be a disaster. It actually worked out really well. So you can get at Olive Garden, just as one example, you can get their steak a la carte, just separate, no sides, nothing else. You can get salmon, you can get shrimp, you can get chicken, you can get scallops. So there's actually like 5 or 6 really good carnivore options. And then I was thinking, well, yeah, but it's going to be ridiculously expensive. Yeah, it's actually pretty reasonable. Their salmon was $9, and you just ask for it, no sauces, no seasonings. They just brought out a plain piece of salmon, and I put my own Redmond salt on that I brought with me. And it was really good. And then I was like, for $9, if I were to go to the grocery store, I'd have trouble getting a piece of salmon for $9, and I have to come home and cook it all up and make a big mess. So it was actually doable. So planning a little bit ahead where you're going to go. There's so many videos and content out there where you can find ideas, and look in the comments of those videos. I got to shout out Laura Spath again, because she's done some incredible videos going to Mexican restaurants, Italian restaurants, just places you would think there's not going to be any carnivore options there. So that is planning and preparing, asking about the a la carte menu has really helped. And don't be afraid to ask. The last thing I'll say is I've had success at other restaurants too. If you go to like Texas Roadhouse, right? There's steak there, that's easy. But they offer sides, and the sides aren't carnivore friendly. Well, they have salad on the menu at Texas Roadhouse. And when you order your steak at Texas Roadhouse, they give you 2 sides. So you could technically get 2 salads. On the salad, they have hard-boiled eggs, cheese, and bacon. So I tell them, can you just give me the salad and hold everything except the hard-boiled eggs, the bacon, and the cheese? And they actually bring you a heaping bowl of hard-boiled eggs and bacon, and then you get it times 2 because you get 2 sides. Like, we have a picture, my daughter and I did this once, and the picture was ridiculous because we had 4 gigantic heaping bowls of hard-boiled eggs and bacon. We actually had to bring it home, and then because we were traveling for the documentary, that was our breakfast the next day. So, but you have to ask. That's my biggest advice. You have to ask, and waiters, waitresses, they'll be accommodating if you ask. The last thing I'll say real quick too is I used to feel weird about this, but I don't anymore. I'm very careful when I order at any restaurant, and I just say, listen, I don't do well. I have an allergic reaction to seed oils, or can you cook this in butter, seasonings? And when you use that word allergy, I used to feel like, Dr. Hampton, like, am I being dishonest here? And in retrospect, I'm not. If I eat those things, it really messes me up big time. So I don't know if technically is that an allergy? I don't know. But if you use the word allergy, they're going to listen. Their ears are going to perk up. If you just say, hey, I don't do that well with seed oils, can you use butter instead? A lot of times they'll be like, yeah, that's okay. But you may still end up with those things. If you use the word allergy, their ears perk up and they're listening, because that's a serious thing in the hospitality business. So using that word has helped me as well. But just communicating really well with the waiter or waitress up front, I found to be helpful.
Yeah, and I think that language of allergy versus maybe a side effect or a symptom that occurs because you consume something is close enough to justify you using that language. Nobody wants to spend their resources on a meal and then get sick from it. So if you already know these things harm you, I think that's a reasonable approach. And I also think it's just reasonable to ask for what you need. So I am grateful because, again, we make so many assumptions in life about what we can and can't do in society, but we're consumers and we deserve to get what we are paying for and need. So I really appreciate you just opening up. Sometimes these videos just give people just a little food for thought, and they'll then drive by the Olive Garden and maybe pause and say, you know what, let me try this little experiment. Rather you've called in advance or you just go there and try it. And what I find is that restaurants generally want your business. They want to accommodate you. So if you take the time, you're gracious about how you interact with the team. Even if they're not familiar, they may have to call their manager and, ask questions. But ultimately, we're going to live in a world where we normalize this. So the more people who do this, the more the restaurants not only will accommodate you, that you may start to see things on the menu that you never saw on the menu. So I really appreciate you, Kerry, coming to this video, sharing your success in this space, helping the good old doc do better, because we have a ton of Italian spots around us. So thanks again. I'll make sure to have a link to your great YouTube channel where, again, I learn as much as I bring to your channel as well. So thanks again, and I'll hopefully get you on the channel again. Thanks, Kerry.
Thank you so much.